Jane Carney believes that volunteering isn't a choice, it's a responsibility. Carney came to this realization not through prompting or cajoling, but through happenstance. One day, she ran into an issue that rocked her mind and outraged her spirit.
The first year that I lived in Riverside, Chief Justice Rose Bird had been the Chief Justice for about 2 years, and then she came up for confirmation, and there was what I thought was an entirely sexist campaign against her, and that bothered me. As a woman lawyer, as a mother of daughters, that bothered me, and so I did not know what to do about this, but I asked around a few people, what should I do? If I care about this, what should I do? I took their ideas. I did what they said. We put together a committee, a quite distinguished committee, a bipartisan committee. We raised enough money to run a half-page ad in the Press Enterprise a couple of times, and we carried the city of Riverside. And that was my launch. That's what we did. And after that, I, was convinced that change was possible.
That Carney took a stand on what was, at the time, a polarizing issue might surprise people who only knew her as the young daughter of apolitical parents in the button-down 1950s. But it came as no surprise to those who knew the path she'd climbed, from a teenager during the dawning of the civil rights movement to a respected Riverside business lawyer.
It was only later that friends reminded me that I used to talk about it in high school. But in those days, Yale and Harvard were all men's schools. I mean, for a woman to be a lawyer would have been a very, very big step, and I didn't pursue it. But later, after I had been married and had 3 children, had been a high school English teacher and some other things, my marriage was breaking up after the Vietnam War, and I realized I was going to need to support my children, and so I went back to law school as a single mother with 3 children. And I think because of that break in time, when I had done other things, and that was a period of intense political movement and change also, I really loved law school. It was difficult trying this as a single mother, but it worked out all right.
Carney's arrival on the Riverside legal scene also was one of circumstance. Newly married to UC Riverside professor Frances Carney, she joined her husband in the Inland Empire, though not without some reservations. Carney was a Northern Californian by birth, upbringing, attitude, and preference. Going south was a little bit like a newly elected Democrat crossing the congressional divide for the first time. You may never have had to work with a Republican before, but you were darn sure you weren't going to like it.
When Frances and I were married and I moved to Riverside, I came very reluctantly. I was in Northern California. I was not interested in Southern California. I had all the Northern Californians' bias. And I didn't care to live in Inland California, so I was very reluctant. And as I met people in Riverside, I came to see how much they love this place. And so I began to say, well, maybe I'd better look around a little more because I must be missing something. Here are these people that I respect and like, and they think Riverside is just a wonderful place. And of course, if you open your mind and you open your heart, then you find out that it is.
As Carney embraced the city hugged back. They welcomed her as she joined her husband in what Carney calls creative activism, which led to her stand against the injustice she saw in the Rose Bird situation. That experience launched Carney on what would become a lifelong commitment to stepping out into the community and working for change. Sought after by many organizations, she soon found herself working on environmental issues as a governing board member of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, on legal issues as president of the Riverside County Bar Association, on economic issues as the chair of the mayor's Strategic Action Team for Good Jobs, and on societal and cultural issues as a board member of the James Irvine Foundation. Along the way, Carney discovered a passion for education and accepted appointment to the Riverside Community College District's Board of Trustees. It is a passion that she retains to this day.
I'm a big D Democrat, but I'm also a small D Democrat, and I really believe in the mission of community colleges, and this, of course, has been just an outstanding community college. Its roots are so deep. There are so many people who have been affected by this school. It has been such an important feature in their lives. You know, a second chance, an opportunity for their kids. It's interwoven in this community in a really remarkable way.
At the end of the day, if one added up the hours Jane Carney has spent building up this community and converted them to a lawyer's hourly rate, well, let's just say Carney could use the money to bail California out of much of its budget deficit.
I don't think you can have a good community unless you have people living there who care about it and try to participate in enhancing its strengths and curing its weaknesses. Being involved in the community is something from which you always get more than you give.
But she, more than anyone, knows that volunteer hours, while non-billable, are priceless, both for the volunteer and for the community. The rule of law, Carney says, brings order to power and protection to society. Volunteering brings a community together, lifting up people and providing foundations for the future.
Most people, many people, will help you. If you have a passion for it, they will help you, and so you don't have to do these things alone.
For the impact she has made on the legal profession, her selfless contributions to our community, and her commitment to education and RCC, we are honored to recognize Jane Carney as the 2008 Distinguished Public Service Award recipient.